Hey, it's Mark for the Gun Guy channel, and today we're talking about the new and improved Beretta Tomcat 30X. But is it really improved, or did this new facelift just ruin something we already liked, kind of like Joan Rivers?
I'm a vegan. I won't eat anything with eyes. That's why your husband left you.
We'll see right after this. Hey everyone, it's Mark, and today we're going to look at the new Beretta Tomcat. Now this is a gun that's been around for a while, and we did a review of its predecessor, the Tomcat 3032, not long ago. There will be a link to that somewhere on the screen right about now. That is a really good gun for an intermediate to advanced shooter for deep conceal or pocket carry. At least that's my opinion. But it has some things that could be better. And so when Beretta announced this update in 2024, I was very excited. I believe this gun became available on the retail market somewhere mid-2024, and they currently sell both versions. And when this happens, I kind of always feel like when they update a car model. You're driving around in a car you like, and Ford or GM or whoever goes, well, you know, we don't really want to do a full redesign, but let's throw some chrome here and a cordless charger there, and oh, we can add a heads-up display. They'll like that, right? And you bring your car in for service and you see this new thing sitting there and you go, whoa, I want to try that. And that is why we're going to look at this gun today. We're going to look at the update, and it's really not a full remodel, although they did change a whole bunch of stuff. We're going to take a look at the current models of the 30X. We'll unbox the version I bought, which is called In Case of Emergency. We'll compare it to the 3032, which is the predecessor. We'll see how it shoots, and I'll give you my final thoughts and impressions on this gun. But before we get into that, if you can hit thumbs up, subscribe, drop a comment, it's a totally free way to support the channel, and it helps us keep bringing you more content. As always, I'm going to add some chapter markers to the video so you can skip to the part that interests you most, and if you find nothing interesting, you can just skip right to the next video. If not, let's get Tomcatting.
At my age, I want two girls at once, you know. Yeah, if I fall asleep, they got each other to talk to. What's new with you?
Not exactly what I meant. So as I said, Beretta announced an update to the tried and true Tomcat line at the 2024 NRA show. The 30X has an aluminum alloy frame and a steel slide and barrel. The 30X uses Beretta's classic tip-up barrel design, a feature which the company now calls the effortless loading system, ELS. The 30X introduces several enhancements over the original Tomcat series though. It uses a double single action trigger mechanism, which is a skeletonized hammer and a trident trigger system. Now Beretta claims that this lightens the trigger pull by 35%. So when we get into the unboxing, we're actually going to test that. A magazine with an extended base plate adds an extra round for capacity, bringing the total rounds to 8 rounds of 32 ACP. The frame has been redesigned for increased durability. Controls and exterior surfaces have been optimized for comfort, including new grips with a Helica texturing, which is a proprietary pattern that they put on the grips, and it's supposed to give you some better grips. Not grips as in the grips on the gun, but grips as in grips on your hand. There are currently 4 versions of the 30X on the market, all in 32 ACP, by the way. There is the 30X Tomcat, just in case, and it has an MSRP of $599.99, but realistically, in real life, you can get that gun for around $450. It has a 2.4-inch barrel, a 5-inch overall length, 4.3 inches in height, 1.36 inches in width, a sight radius of 3.4 inches. The capacity is 8+1 rounds, and it has interchangeable sights, which is a huge difference from its predecessor. This has a blacked out rear sight and a white dot up front. It also has the Helica textured wood grips, which are intended to provide a firm and classic feel on the gun. There is also the 30X Tomcat Get Home bag, which is probably one of the worst names I've ever heard for a gun, but it's still a pretty cool looking gun. It also has an MSRP of $599.99, so we could call it $600 if you like. Realistically, you're going to find this gun in the market for around $480. It is pretty much the exact same gun as the Tomcat just in case, except it has a threaded barrel. So the barrel length is 2.8 as opposed to 2.4 inches, and the overall length increases to 5.3 inches. It also picks up a couple of ounces of weight, probably due to the extra steel in the barrel. Now, I have no idea why you would want to put a suppressor on this specific gun, because the suppressor would actually be bigger than the gun itself, so it would kind of defeat the purpose of deep conceal. Moving on, there is also the 30X Tomcat Do-It-Yourself, which has an MSRP of $549.99, and real life world, you're getting that gun for about $430. It is basically a black version of the Get Home bag. And then there is the version that we got, which is the 30X Tomcat in case of emergency. It has an MSRP of $549.99 as well. Real world, you're getting that gun for about $380, which is actually one of the reasons we bought it. Now, it is pretty much the exact same gun as the just in case, but it is in, I believe it's called Onyx, or gray and black. And just in case you're wondering what came in the box of the gun that we got, let's take a look at it right now. All right, so let's take a look at what's in the box. We get this beautiful cardboard box from Beretta with nice new updated graphics over the old Tomcat box. We do not, in this box, get the nice carrying case that came with the old Beretta. But we do get a QR code for the manual and the extended warranty. A plastic bag, you get the gun with one magazine, and you get a lock, a individual firearms record, which is, I always like these, you know, that's kind of just a nice touch. It lets you know that someone actually cared enough at Beretta to check the gun. You get a Beretta warning, which I believe this is just their general warning about firearms, and you get a broken toothpick because I put it in the box before I did this. Box, baby, you're the swingin'est darling. So we'll make this go away. Poof. All right. So as I said, we get one magazine, and this is an 8-round magazine. We will clear the gun, so nothing in there. I guess we could also clear it like that, because it is a tip up, or as they call it, easy something or another. So, going over the stats again, this gun has a 2.4-inch barrel, a 5-inch overall length. The height on the gun, and I believe this is with the magazine in, looks to be, is 4.3 inches. The width on the gun is 1.36 inches. The sight radius is a 3.4 inches. And again, for those who are new to shooting, a longer sight radius just means that it's a little bit easier for the shooter to get on target. The capacity on this gun, and again, it's 32 ACP, is 8+1. Now, this gun is supposed to weigh in at 15 ounces, and I believe the model with the extended barrel, which is suppressor-ready, comes in at around 16.5. But let's take a look and see what the weight is. (15.91 ounces). Okay, and just because we have the old 3032 nearby, and this is also clear, so we'll do that. So No one writes nasty comments about us being unsafe with the gun. Let's see if there's a significant weight difference between the two. 15.84 ounces, so they're pretty darn close, and I'm guessing, honestly, I think the magazine is probably the difference on these two. Let's take a look now at the specific features on the new and updated Beretta Tomcat. And we're going to start with the best upgrade and the most obvious, and that is the sights. So the sights on this gun are just far superior to the sights on the 30-32. So as you can see, it has a target back rear sight, which is removable, and a white dot front sight. And again, just a world of difference between the two sights. The hammer, honestly, looks pretty much identical. But again, it's nice. You can definitely, if you were to carry this, if you wanted to safely decock it and carry it in this double action, if you didn't want to shoot in a double action mode, you could certainly cock and go into single really easily. So while it's a small hammer, it is definitely good enough to do that. And then there is the showstopper, if you will, which is the tilt-up barrel. Now, on this specific model, they switched how you tip up the barrel. So on the old version, and honestly, this was kind of annoying, you had to push forward on this lever to get the barrel to tip up. On this one, it's more like a magazine release where you simply push in, and it is definitely easier to do. So that's a really nice feature on this. And speaking of magazine releases, they also changed that. So if you look at the older version, you will see the magazine release is down here. And some people were concerned that you might hit it because, your palm is covering it, your fingers might touch it. I never had that happen with this gun, but I will say that moving it here makes it far more traditional. It's stiff on this gun, right? I still can't really just do it without shifting my hand. But again, I don't know if this is the kind of gun that you're going to need to carry multiple magazines for and swap them out super quick. But again, the magazine release is different. Now, one of the other big claims to fame is that they're saying that the trigger, the new skeletonized trigger, which you can see, and it is definitely flat, right, when it's in single. So is 35% lighter than the old one. So let's take a look and see what the single and double is on both of them. So let's start with the old one because age before beauty, right? So we're in single action. 2 pounds, 13.8 ounces. That's pretty light. 3 pounds, 14.3 ounces. £4, 5.5 ounces. Let's do one more just to see if we can get something a little more consistent. 4 pounds, 4.1 ounces. Okay, so now let's see with the new flat trigger if that's reduced at all. So I can't do math in my head because I was a theater major, but I think if you take 35% of 4 pounds, you're going to wind up with 2 and some change or something like that. CPAs, feel free to leave notes. Okay, 3 pounds, 1 ounce. 3 pounds, 2.4 ounces. £3 pounds, 3 ounces. So that is really significantly better than the old one. Now, let's try double action. I believe the double action on this may have been off the charts, but we're going to see. We'll give it one pull. £7 pounds, 9.6 ounces. Oop. And that is an annoying thing with this gun that I noticed with this. This one is always going to be in double action. This one, once it is pulled in double action, you do have to tip the barrel up to get it to go back to engage. Oops. 6 pounds, 9.6 ounces, but I did pull that pretty quick, and I've learned that the quicker I pull this gauge, the lighter it is. So we're going to try this one more time. £7 pounds, 9.8 ounces. All right. Let's see what this one comes in at. If I can actually get it with the flat trigger. 8 pounds, 5.3 ounces. All right, so that means Beretta is going to hate me forever now.
Nothing for you.
We're going to try it again. £6 pounds, 1.9 ounces. It is tricky because of the flat trigger, let me tell you. 6 pounds, 13.9 ounces. Oh, that one, 5 pounds, 4.5 ounces. All right, so it's coming out a little less than the old model, so it does look like they worked on the trigger. But since we are here in this double action, and this is a conceal carry, defensive pistol, I will say, if you look at the positioning of the two triggers in double action, this is one of the only things that I really do like this version of the gun better than this, because I have trouble getting my finger in that little area. And maybe I don't. I just gotta go on a diet.
Hey, what gives? These donuts are piling up.
Yeah, Homer Simpson went on a diet.
Oh my God. And I just bought a boat.
It's still a tighter fit than this, right? So this just feels more natural for me in the double action. Now also, let's take a look really quick at the reset on this gun. So we're gonna bring it into that, and you'll see that it goes into pretty much a right angle when it's in single action. Goes all the way back. There is a little bit of creep, and then it goes. The reset right about there. Again, a little creep, but really, a pretty nice, crisp trigger with a decent reset. Just to give you an idea of that on this gun, for comparison, this actually comes back, it looks like, yeah, they're about the same. They're about the same. But this trigger, again, a little bit of creep. And the reset, it's out a little further, but in a real life situation, I don't know if you would actually notice that. Anyhow, so that is the difference between the triggers on this. In regard to the smoothness on them in double action, it's really kind of nice. Oops. All right. For this feature alone, buy that one. But again, very close. This might be a hair smoother than the older version, but you'd have to be consciously trying to pay attention to it to notice the difference. In regard to the safety on both, it is a safety, but not a decocker. So if the hammer is back, which you wouldn't want to carry it this way, you could have that. Carrying it in double action, it will prevent the gun from discharging. It is really the exact same mechanism. Now, when I first heard that they had changed the grips and had the audacity to call it a Helica texturing, I was like, well, that's really nice marketing ploy. But I've got to say, the texturing is actually significantly better on the 30X. So the proprietary pattern that they came up with is really, really nice. One of the issues that I've had with this gun and that is reported with the 30-32 is slide bite, because you sometimes get up a little high, and you do that to get a grip on these, because these are not horrible, but they're not great either, right? And in fact, when I do this, I kind of do a reverse revolver, because if I shoot revolver, I'll do this. I do this to keep my hand away from the slide and to reinforce the grip. And on most guns, you do a thumbs forward. I don't do that with the older model. However, with the newer model, particularly because you definitely get more of a grip on this gun because of the extended magazine, but you also have a really nice, natural place if you want to put thumbs forward on this gun. So you really can shoot this gun like that. That's a great feature. It makes shooting this gun, I think, a lot more pleasant than shooting the older version. And again, I didn't realize that till I handled them both at the same time. So now in regard to taking the guns down, they do take down exactly the same way. So in the old one, you would just pop this up, you pull that forward, right, and you can slide that out. On the new one, you pop that forward, pull that up, and guess what? You slide that out. So they really do work very similar in regard to the takedown. Well, now that we know how to take these guns down, let's see how this gun shot at the range. So my final thoughts on the 30X Tomcat. I really do like the way the gun shoots. The recoil felt much better than the 30-32. I think that's at least in part due to the improved Helica grips, which actually are really improved. I have no idea why else it could be. It could be the trigger. I think there's a little bit more meat on this particular gun, so that could be the reason that it just shoots nicer, in my opinion. Now, full disclosure, I did have a bunch of misfires, some stovepipes, failure to feed, my first time out at the range. And again, what you see on this channel is the stuff that we literally take it out of the box and we go shoot it. I don't run 500 rounds, so I look good shooting it, obviously, as those of you who have watched the range footage can tell. But it did have some misfires. What I did was I took it home, I lubed it up as it should be before you really shoot a gun, brought it back to the range, and it shot flawlessly. So a side note on this is if I was carrying this gun for self-defense, I'd want to make sure that I maintain it regularly and make sure it's lubricated. Guns really aren't supposed to run right out of the box to the range, but most people really do that, and by most people, I mean me. So I also wish that they had a 7-round flush magazine like the 30-32. I think that would make the footprint a little smaller and easier to conceal. The trade-off is the 8-round magazine really does make the gun easier to handle, and you get a better grip on it. I also think, and this is tough, I think I like the old trigger style better. The flat trigger to me just seems a little more awkward, and it could be I'm just not used to shooting it yet because, again, I've only run about 100 rounds of 32 ACP through that gun. A couple of reasons. As I said, we like to give you our true first impressions. Secondly, it's really hard to find 32 ACP. But I do think that the 30-32 is easier to get your finger in when you are going to shoot double action and you're carrying it for defensive purposes. Would I feel comfortable carrying either of these guns? Sure, I actually would. Now, who is this gun for, the 30X? Well, I think it's for someone who wants a modern, pocketable 32 ACP with the convenience of a tip-up barrel, but with some actual improvements in ergonomics and sights over the old one. It's great for deep concealment, pocket carry, or in the waistband, where the tiny size really makes it a comfortable carry. Now, who is this gun also for? Well, it's for people that I wouldn't have recommended the 30-32 for, because I wouldn't say that's for a beginner, but I would say that if you wanted to shoot this gun and you were a beginner, you could, because the sights are improved, the recoil is there. It's you can feel it for a 32, probably a little bit more than you could with a bigger gun, but it's not horrible because of the improvements in texture. I'll admit I'm a fan. The 30X keeps the charm of the 30-32, but fixes all the things that annoy me. And specifically, that really is the sights. So getting back to my original car metaphor, if I was shopping for a new Tomcat on the lot, which would I pick? If I already owned the old version, would I trade it in? That would honestly be pretty tough. I would probably keep the old one and take the new one out on a lease. So I would keep both, which is kind of what I did. If I owned neither, I would probably go with the new one. I think it's overall slightly more user-friendly. And honestly, I think it's cheaper. I believe the 30-32 comes in right now at $450, and you can get the 30X, the version that we got, around $70 less. So, those are my thoughts on the Tomcat 30X. What are your thoughts? Have you shot the 30, 32 and the 30X? Do you carry one or the other, or would you? Drop a comment. If you like this, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and we'll see you next time on Doug Gun Guy channel.